All right. Hello, everyone. I'm hoping that I have changed my settings. Just one second. Yeah, here we go. There we go. I have to have a lower resolution because my internet is terrible. So, welcome to another episode of the Heliand. As you can see, I'm on my own because Jeremy unfortunately lost an old friend. It was his dog, and the family is feeling pretty sad. So I told him to just be together. I think I can do the readings, and of course, I will throw in a link, and then we can all hang out if anybody is watching. All right, so we will start with. Oh yes, we were going through the Sermon on the Mount. So I believe we left off halfway through it. So we're going to start reading Psalm 20. You should never pronounce even the slightest detrimental, unjust judgment on any man, since the judgment comes back on the same man who spoke unjustly of another. Then it is he who begins to worry about the penalty. Never let any of you men, when you are buying or selling here in the middle world, behave in such a way that you deceitfully give another man unjust measure. No matter which earl it is, what he did to others is what will come back to him, even if he prefers not to see his sins. I will also say to you where it is that you should guard yourselves against the greatest of evils, the greatest quantity of acts of wickedness. Why you should have a talk with a man, your brother, to tell him that under his eyelash you have seen a tiny fleck of straw in his eye, when you are not willing to be aware of the huge beam, the hard and heavy tree that you have in your eyes. Fell that tree in your own consciousness. Think how you will get rid of it first. Then the light will come shining through to you. Your eyes will be opened. After that, you will then be able to improve and heal the sight of your friend's eyes. Let each one here in this world be more conscious of the wrong things that he does than of keeping an eye on other people's crimes and sins. He has done more awful things himself. If he wants to do a good deed, he should first free himself from sins, separate himself from loathsome deeds. After that, he can be a help to heroes with his teaching, once he knows himself to be clean, safe, and secure from sins. Nor should you put your pearls before pigs, or strew your jewels, the holy metal, around your neck before them. And there's a footnote at the word neck. Helag, halsmeni, holy necklace, holy neckband. I just have to say this, that in German, holy is heilig, so Helag is not that far off. And neck is Hals, and it's a halsmeni, so that's a necklace or a neckband. I am not certain how to understand this. The author has added it to the Gospel account, which mentions only the pearls. In ancient times, Celtic and Germanic peoples had worn the torque around the neck. Small Thor hammers have been found which were worn around the neck into the time of the Heliand and beyond, presumably to ask for the gods' help and protection. Some of these hammer amulets also had been manufactured with Christian crosses on the back, presumably, quote unquote, just in case. Was there some sort of cross medallion of similar size, similar to a bishop's pectoral cross, that had been given to the Saxon converts, perhaps as a sort of good conduct pass during the times of Frankish-Saxon war? If so, the author has inserted into the Sermon on the Mount an appeal from Christ to the Saxons not to throw away the holy symbol of their religion. Interesting. They will trample. Okay, so torque. Oh, thank you. Torque is a Gaelic armband. Oh, thank you for that. Coming back with healed eyes is a great plan. Thanks, Chris. Yeah. And good evening. Nice to have you. Yeah, I'm reading this going, wow, this is really crazy. Wasn't expecting it, to be honest. I forgot where we were here. I'll start again. Nor should you put your pearls before pigs, or strew your jewels, the holy metal around your neck, before them. They will trample it into the muck and make it filthy in the dirt. They know nothing about cleanliness, nor about beautiful jewels. There are many people like that here. They do not want to hear your holy word, nor follow God's teaching. They know nothing about goodness and have a powerful preference for empty words, useless things, over the God of mankind's works and will. They are not worthy then to hear your holy word, if they are not willing to think about it in their minds, to learn it and carry it out. Do not tell them a thing about your teaching, so that you do not waste God's speech and many spells on people who are not willing to believe the words of truth. As you travel through this country, you should also guard against the trickery of these people, so that the teachers of lies do not seduce you with words or actions. They come to you in such robes, with the finest of jewels, but they have deception in mind. You will recognize them immediately as soon as you see them coming. They speak wise words, but their actions are worth nothing. Worthless are the thoughts of those thanes. For you know that wine grapes do not grow on a sticker bush, nor do any of the finest fruits, and heroes cannot pick figs from a thorn tree. You can certainly understand that a bad tree standing on the earth never gives good fruit, nor did God ever ordain that the good tree of the sons of men should bear bitter fruit. Each and every tree brings to this world the kind of fruit that comes from its roots, either sweet or sour. In their deepest thoughts and inmost feelings, most of mankind believes that every earl reveals himself, telling you with his mouth what kind of feelings and thoughts are in his heart. He cannot disguise it. From an evil man will come malicious advice, bitterly negative speech, just what he keeps within his chest, chained around his heart. His thoughts and his will always make themselves known in his words, and then his actions come traveling along behind. From the good man comes an intelligent and wisely thought out answer, just as he always speaks in his words. Out of this man's mouth comes the treasure hoard of feelings that he has around his heart. That is where the holy teaching comes from, the appealing word. And at the phrase, that is where the holy teaching comes from, there's a footnote. The familiar phrase, like wolves in sheep's clothing, is not used, even though it is one whose animal imagery might have been intelligible in the North. The substitution of impressive robes and jewels and the avoidance of sheep, as in the Christmas story, must have its reason in the class consciousness of the thanes, who must have been the intended audience of the Heliand. And his works following thereafter will thrive for the good of the people, and will be appreciated by many thanes. This is just what the ruler himself, God Almighty, the Lord of heaven, gives to good human beings, since without his help they would not be capable of accomplishing any good at all in words or in deeds or in this middle world. It is for this reason that all of the children of men should believe in his power alone. And all, as a footnote, oh, I missed one here. Oh, I'm sorry. I got that wrong about the wolves in sheep's clothing. That was the wrong footnote. Okay, let's just rewind a little bit. So the footnote for the wolves in sheep's clothing was they come to you in such robes with the finest of jewels instead of wolves in sheep's clothing. And the footnote that I misread, that is where the holy teaching comes from. That is Thanen Kumad Thea Heligan Lera. And that would translate to, from there comes the holy teaching, a truly remarkable and gracious statement. The author locates source of the Gospel's teachings as having its roots in the goodness of the human heart. The good news. Now, and the footnote for it is for this reason that all of the children of men should believe in his power alone is, by rooting the gospel in the hearts of good men as a direct gift of God, rather than in any other more ecclesiastical structure, the author has created a very broad pastoral basis for appealing to the Saxons, and as he says, to all, to find the gospel acceptable and familiar to persons of goodness. All right, so now we're going to Song 21, which is a continuation of the Sermon on the Mount. It's titled The Instructions on the Mountain. I will also show you how there are two roads here in this light on which all the peoples of earth, the children of men, travel. One of them is a broad and wide highway. Many people take it, much of mankind, world-lusting warriors, because their feelings urge them into it. What is worse, this road leads people to where the heroes become lost, to Hell land. Hell is capital Hel, and as far as I remember, it was also the underworld for the Saxon people, where it is hot and black, terrifying inside. This road is easy for the sons of men to travel on, though it ends up as useless. Then there is the other road in this world, much narrower, not much traveled. Few people take it. The sons of men do not like to walk it, even though it takes earls to God's kingdom, to eternal life. You take the narrow one, even if it is not so easy for human beings to travel on, yet it will be to the advantage of whoever goes on it to the end. That person will get his prize, the very long-lasting reward and life everlasting, the wonderful comings and goings of living forever. You should always ask the chieftain, the ruler, for you to take that road from the start, and for you to keep going on it all the way to God's kingdom. He is always ready to respond by giving to those who really ask him. To the sons of men, whenever they ask, go look for your Father up in the eternal kingdom. You can find him there to your advantage thereafter. Announce your arrival there at the chieftain's doors. They will open for you immediately. The gates of heaven will swing open so that you can walk into the holy light, into God's kingdom, and see eternal life. I will also tell you a true picture to give to all these people. Whoever wants to keep my teachings in his heart and wants to think about them in his mind and carry them out in this land is doing the same thing as a wise man of knowledge and clear intelligence, who chooses very solid earth as the site for his home and constructs his walls upon rock, where neither wind nor wave nor the water current can do any harm to it. There it will stand for him up on a rock, resisting all storms, because it was placed so solidly on rock. The site supports the house from below, defies the winds so that the house does not have to yield. Every person, however, who does not want to hear my teaching, nor do any of it, is behaving like the unwise earl, the person of poor intelligence who wants to set up his house on sand, by the water's edge, where the west wind, the waves in the current, and the ocean breakers beat it to pieces. Sand and pebbles are not able to help the house resist the wind, and so it will be thrown down there. It will fall apart in the water, since its timbers were not placed in more solid earth. On the other hand, the works of every earl who does what I say and keeps my commands holy will prosper. Then many of the huge crowd began to sense wonder in their minds. They heard the lovable teachings of mighty God. They were not used to hearing such things said in the past in their land, neither in words nor in deeds. Wise men, though, understood that he taught in this way, the people's chieftain, in truthful words, because he had power, unlike all those who in former times had been chosen from among the people and clans to be teachers. There was no match for the words of Christ among men as he spoke in front of the crowd up on the mountain, commanding. Song 22 is a continuation of the instructions on the mountain. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really loving the Sermon on the Mount in the Heliand. He gave them 2 orders there. They were always to say his words on how one should get to the kingdom of heaven, the most extensive good, and also he gave them power so that they could heal the crippled and the blind, human weaknesses, many of the bedridden, and those with severe sickness. He also commanded them himself that they were not to accept payment from any person for this, no precious jewels. Remember, he said, where your craft, your knowledge, and wisdom came from, and the power was given to you by the Father of all men. Therefore you have no need to buy it with any money, nor to pay for it with any jewels. So have an attitude of generosity when you help human beings. Teach the sons of men the long-lasting advice, something good that lasts. Criticize acts of wickedness, severe sinfulness. Do not let silver or gold, the beautiful coins, become of such worth to you that it comes under your control. It is not able to do you any good at all, nor bring you any happiness. And there's a footnote. The author is here perhaps casting a sideways glance at his fellow monks and their vows of poverty rather than the Saxon thanes. You earls, men, should not own more clothes than you wear at the times when you have to go out in public. You should never spend a long time worrying about your meat or about your food, since the people should feed their teachers. Instead, what you say to the people is worth support, worth a loving repayment. Footnote, there is an addition made by the author to stress the power and worth of the words of the teaching themselves. In Scripture, Matthew 10:10, the idea seems simply to be an appeal to a common proverb, emphasizing ordinary fairness. The worker is worthy of his pay, or the laborer is worthy of his keep. In the Heliand, it is not only the worker who is worthy, as in the following sentence in the song, but the divine message, the secret runes that he reveals that are worthy of support. The worker is worth being well fed. The man who is going to care for so many souls and get so many spirits on the road to God's meadow is worth his porridge. It is a greater thing to care for many souls and to care about how to bring them to the heavenly kingdom than to provide the bodies of the sons of men with porridge. For this reason, people should dearly hold those in honor who show them the road to heaven's kingdom, who hold off the evil, harm-inflicting enemy, and who reprove acts of wickedness, severe sins. I will now send you off into this country like a lamb among wolves. That is how you will travel in the midst of your enemy, among many peoples, among unlike human beings. Keep your feelings opposed to them. Stay intelligently face to face with them, just like the yellow snake, the colored serpent, when it becomes aware of its hated enemy, so that no one of the world people can sneak up on you during the journey. You should take care that human beings are not able to twist the thoughts of your heart or your will. Be as truly against their deceptive deeds, as one would be against enemies. Then you should also be like a dove in your actions. Have a simple, straightforward mind toward every earl. Be generous-spirited, so that no one comes to be deceived because of your behavior, tricked because of your sins. And the footnote here is, this is a much more pointed treatment than in Matthew's Gospel 10:16, where the serpent and dove analogy is given as a single line with no elaboration. Be as wise as serpents and simple as doves. It is tempting to think that the author may here be thinking of the precarious situation of the missionaries among the Saxons and Frisians, which, as even St. Boniface could have testified, did invite more than a little caution. Now you are to go on the journey on a mission. There you will suffer many hardships among the people and pressures both many and diverse when you teach the people in my name. For For that you will receive bad treatment and punishment before the kings of the world. Often you will stand in shackles in front of rulers because of my true word, and you will endure both ridicule and insulting language. But do not let your minds doubt because of that, nor let your spirit give ground. There is no need for you to have any worry at all in your mind. When they order you out to come before the noble lords in the guest hall, about what sorry, I'm going to start again. There is no need for you to have any worry at all in your mind when they order you out to come before the noble lords in the guest hall about what you should say, then say to them face to face in good words spoken wisely. Success will come to you, help from heaven, and the Holy Spirit will speak mightily from your mouth. Therefore, do not be afraid of human beings' hatred. Do not fear their hostility. Do not fear their hostility, even though they have power over your life spirit, in that they could take away the body's life by striking with the sword. They cannot do anything at all to the soul. Fear the ruling God, revere your Father, enjoy doing his bidding, for he has power both over people's life and over their body, as well as over the living soul itself. If you should lose your life spirit on this journey because of the teachings, you will be able to find it again before the light of God, because your Father, holy God, will hold it for you in the kingdom of heaven. Song 23. Not everyone who here calls me protector will come to heaven. There are many who want every single day to bow to the chieftain and ask him for help, but who are thinking of other things, of doing deeds of wickedness. Their words do them no good. The people who will come to the light of heaven and arrive at God's kingdom are the ones who are glad to carry out here the works and will of the all-ruling Father. There is no need for them to call on God for help in many words, since God knows the feelings and thoughts, the words and the will of every man, and he tallies everyone's reward on the basis of his works. I need a little bit of coffee. Oops. When you are on the journey, you should be concerned about how you are going to complete your mission. When you are going through the countryside all across the world, wherever the roads take you, the broad road to the hill fort always looks right away for the best men in the population. And let them know what is on your mind in true words. Wherever the roads take you, the broad road to the hill fort, always look right away for the best men in the population. And let them know what is on your mind in true words. If they are worthy, if they are happy to perform your good works with a clear mind, then be willing to live at the house with them and reward them well. Pay them back with goodness. Consecrate them in words to God himself and promise them sure peace, the holy help of heaven's King. If because of their own deeds they are incapable of becoming so fortunate as to do your deeds and carry out your teaching, then leave those people quickly. Travel on, away from that group. Your peace, returning, will go with you on your journey. Let them continue on in their sins and wickedness. You look for another hill fort, another large population, and do not let a bit of the dust from a place where they do not want to receive you follow you on your feet. Shake it off your shoes so that those people will be shamed, and it will become public knowledge how worthless their goodwill is. I will tell you in all truth, when this world comes to an end, and the great day comes upon mankind, on that day Fort Sodom, which because of its sin was burned to its foundations by the force of the flame, will have more peace and a more generous protector than these men will who are unwilling to do your word and throw you out. Whoever does receive you with a devout mind because of their spirit of generosity, such a person has carried out my will and has received ruling God, your Father, the chieftain of mankind, the powerful counselor, who is aware of every act of goodness. The ruler himself knows and rewards the goodwill of every man. Whatever good a man does here, even if someone for the love of God willingly just gives a drink of water from a cold spring to heal the thirst of a needy man. These words will come true. It will not be a long time before a man shall receive his reward, the manifold payment, before the eyes of God, for whatever he has done because of love of me. Whoever denies me to the sons of men, whatever hero denies me in front of the warriors, I will do the same myself to him in heaven, up there, in front of the all-ruling Father, and in front of all his angel forces, in front of that great multitude. Whoever of the sons of men in this world does not want to avoid the words, but instead says yes in front of the human family, that he is my follower, I will recognize him in return before the eyes of God, in front of the Father of all mankind, when the great throng of mankind all walk to judgment before the powerful One, the all-ruler. Then I will rightly be the gracious protector of whoever hears my words and does the things that I have commanded up here on this mountain. The ruler's son had truly taught the people how to praise God. He then let the people depart from that place. They went in every direction, crowds of humanity journeying homeward. They had heard holy teaching, the word of the Heaven King himself. Whoever of the many members of the human race throughout this middle world is wiser in word and deed when he speaks, is one who heard the spell who heard the spell spoken on the mountain by the most powerful of those born. Oh, you found a 1966 translation. Cool. All right. Now, I've read for 26 minutes. It's up to you, those who are listening. Shall I continue reading or shall I drop a link? Thumbs up in the chat. I can read. I don't mind. Yes, Dawn. I loved that too. Fell that tree in your own consciousness. There's such a deeper take in these ancient manuscripts, right? Yeah. Well, let me know. I'm going to wait for a minute and see if you guys want me to keep reading because I don't want to bore you to death. And I'm happy. Like what that's the end of the Sermon on the Mount, and we're going to cruise into the wedding at Cana. So, will it be? Okay, let's read then. I'm going to read till my throat gets sore. The marriage feast in the guest hall at Fort Cana, Song 24. 3 nights afterwards, the chieftain of these people decided to go to Galilee land. He, God's son, had been invited to a wedding. There a bride was to be given away, a beautiful maiden. Mary, the happy virgin, the mighty one's mother, was there with her son. I wonder how that sounded to the Saxons. The mother of Christ, the happy virgin. Although, now that I say that, they probably had an understanding of that virginity that that is the Theotokos. God's bairn had been bidden. Oh, is this what yours says? Cool. Yeah, there is a more poetic translation that Jeremy read. And maybe you could give me the name of the author of the one you're reading, Al, because this one is more in a story form. And it was recommended, or not recommended, I heard Martin Shaw talking about it on a podcast, and he mentioned this one. So I thought, well, I'm going to get the one Martin Shaw's reading. Okay. The protector of people, God's own child, went with his followers to the high house where the crowd of Jewish people were drinking in the guest hall. He was there at the wedding too, and it was there that he had made known that he had God's strength, Holy Spirit, help from the Father in heaven, the wisdom of the ruler. The warriors were merry. The people were enjoying themselves together. The men were feeling good. The servants went around pouring from pitchers. They had clear wine in steins and barrels. The conviviality of the earls in the drinking hall was a beautiful sight, and the men on the benches had reached a very high level of bliss. They were really happy. A really high level of bliss. Oh, yeah, okay. That's the one that Jeremy read from, Al, the Mariana Scott one he mentioned. He said he really loved it because it was so poetic. But he also agreed it would have been hard to understand, to read, you know. Then the wine ran out on them. The people had no more apple wine. There was not the smallest drop left in the house that the servants could still bring to the crowd. The vats were empty, the liquor was gone. Now it was not very long before the loveliest lady, Christ's mother, found out about it. She went and spoke with her child, with her son himself, and told him in words that the hosts did not have any more wine for the guests at the wedding. Then she asked the Holy Christ earnestly to arrange some help for the people, for the sake of their happiness. The mighty Son of God had his answer ready and said to his mother, "What is it to me and you?" he said. "What happens to these people's liquor, to these warriors' wine? Why are you talking so much like this, woman, admonishing me in front of all these people? My times have not yet come." The Holy Virgin, however, trusted well in her mind that, even after these words, the ruler's son, the best of healers, would help. Then the most beautiful of women told the servants, those pouring and those in charge of the wine barrels, all the ones who were serving the crowd, that they were not to let out a whit of the words or actions that the Holy Christ would tell them to do for the people. 6 stone vats were standing there empty. God's mighty child gave his orders very quietly, so that a lot of people would not know for sure how he said it with his words. And there's a footnote. The author gives great weight to the words and actions of Christ by making it important in the text that no one learn these secret magic words. Since God's words create, as the author emphasized in Song 1, they are performative words and can act of themselves. It seems clear that the Saxon audience would love to learn and use the formula for changing clear water into apple wine, and the author has to go to great lengths to explain how the followers of Christ do not know these powerful runes. Both Mary and Jesus are made to take explicit means to see that the words and actions are kept quiet. In making the transfer from Hebrew to Germanic, the author has had to understand Hebrew miracle, dependent on some divine intervention each time, as Germanic magic, dependent on powerful divine words and formulae. In medieval sacramental theology, transfer may have gone in the other directions as the sacraments. Transfer may have gone in the other direction as the sacraments, baptism, penance, the Eucharist in particular, may have been seen in this more northern light. There is a prayer still said in the Roman Catholic Mass after the gospel has been proclaimed, which reflects this Germanic attitude toward the miraculous or the magical. And there's some Latin, which I'm not going to read, but it translates to, "By the gospel having been said, may our sins be destroyed." The prayer is in a rhyme form, I guess in Latin, and like a spell, expects an action because of words said, and perhaps significantly, like the words of Christ at Cana, it is to be said quietly. Could this prayer spell be a charming survivor from the Heliand's time of intercultural communication? Yeah, I don't even want to try to say it in Latin. Okay, I'm going to do it for you, for your sake. And you guys just be nice to me. Per heck, it's Haec. Evangelia dicta deliantur nostra delicta. So it kind of has this spell sound to it. That's interesting. He told those who were pouring to fill the vats there with clear water, and then he made the sign of the cross over it with his fingers, with his own hands. He worked it into wine. Then he ordered it, poured into a drinking vessel, drawn off with a pitcher, and then speaking to a servant, he told him to give it to the most important person at the wedding, to put it right into the hands of the one who had the most authority over these people, after the host. As soon as he drank the wine, the man could not contain himself from speaking in front of the crowd to the bridegroom. He said that it was always the best apple wine that every earl serves first at his wedding. Men's minds wake up with the wine so that they start feeling ever more merry. Drunk, they rejoice. Then, after that happens, one can serve the cheaper apple wine. That is the custom of these people. Quote, now you, as host, have made your arrangements for the crowd in a most amazing way. You ordered your servants to bring the worst of all your wine to these folks and to serve it first at your wedding. Now your guests are full. The whole wedding party is very drunk. They are all intoxicated. Now you have ordered the loveliest of all apple wines brought out that I have ever seen, lifted anywhere in this world. This is what you should have given to the guests earlier today. At that time, every one of us would have received it with gratitude. After those words, and after they had drunk this wine, many a Thane became aware that the Holy Christ had performed a sign there inside the house. They had more trust in his protection after that, more confidence that he had the power and authority of God in this world. It became widely known to the Jewish people throughout Galilee land how the chieftain's son, right there in their country, had changed water to wine. That was the first of the wonders which he performed there in Galilee for the Jewish people as signs. There is no one who can tell, no one who can say for certain what the wonders were that were done afterwards among the people, as Christ the ruler taught the Jewish people in God's name all day long. He promised them the kingdom of heaven, and he protected them against hell's oppression with words. He told them to look for God's attention and eternal life. That is where there is the light of souls, God's comings and goings, daylight, the glory of God. There many a guest lives most happily. They are the ones who kept obedience to the Heaven King's command well in mind here. Okay, well, I think I'm going to stop here. Because if I read too much, I won't be able to think about it. I'll be thinking about the last thing I read. And those songs on the Sermon on the Mount are just... And we did the Beatitudes too before that, and they were also just amazing. Now you're interested in the Latin I mentioned. Yeah, it seems to be... something that is said in the Mass. When I took the poll. I was like, what? I went in the pool. You went in the pool, Don. Okay, I'm going to drop a link here. So please feel free to join me. This is what Jeremy and I usually do. And if nobody jumps in, then this is over. Because I'm not a talker. Not a solitary talker, anyway. So there's a link. I don't know what my internet's like because my I've got one bar showing here, but whatever. I'm really trying not to have to cave and get Starlink. Oh, hello.
Howdy. Can you hear
Hi.
me? Oh, didn't check my settings. Here you go. Sorry, wrong mic. Always does that to me.
That sounds good. Oh, I've got 2 bars. I got 2 bars right now.
Yeah, you're going through just fine, which is why I thought I'd join to say, yeah, it's perfect.
Oh, good.
Yeah, the audio is good, even the video, right?
Okay,
Like if
excellent.
you were out of bars, you could always turn off the video or something, put up a pretty
Yeah,
picture or something, Yeah.
I've done that before. It's okay when it's Jeremy and I and he's reading,
Yeah.
but if it's just, my avatar going
Oh,
throbbing.
I hear you. I know people want a moving picture. It's so funny how we're such
Well, it's
simple.
more personal, so
Yeah.
that's
The
okay.
virtually not alone thing, right? Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
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 I guess so. We're so in need of that. I argue that I usually talk about language, right? That we've never had so many literate people, but so few fluent people. And I think that's the same thing with connection. Like never has so many people known so many people, but there's no real connection in most people's lives, right? Because I hear kids under 30 nowadays, 80% of them probably don't have a real life friend that they can, sit down and talk about some of this cool stuff that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
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 I'm still fascinated by whatever you said about the Latin. I only caught a couple of the
Okay,
words.
well, let me stumble through that again for you.
Yeah, no, you did it fine. I just only heard half of it.
Well, it was I don't know how to pronounce Latin. I know some of the
We can go through word by word if you want. It'd be interesting just to see because honestly, there's multiple ways of pronouncing it. I purposely mispronounce some of it just to get on people's nerves. Right?
So the Latin is per hec
Pair. Yeah. Yeah.
per
Okay.
per
Yeah.
hec HAEC Evangelia dicta,
Yeah.
and then a comma,
Yeah.
and then de liantur nostra delicta. And that translates to by the gospel having been said, may our sins be destroyed.
Yeah, per hec as said, and then evangelia is to be said. Yeah, it's got to be more to that, and that's what's got me interested. It's got to be a little bit more. I'm going to see if we can get into something a little more deeper on it.
Well, the Heliand.
Here it is. Found it.
Yes,
you were right. It's part of liturgy.
Yeah, it's a part of a Catholic Mass, right?
So it must have much deeper significance than just straight translating the words from the Latin, is what I mean. And I'm taking a look. So go ahead. You were saying.
No. I mean, of course, it has more significance. It's probably said during the. It's during the Eucharist, right? It's during the Mass. But what the translator is trying to get across here is that it's in a rhyme form, and so he thinks it's a hanger on from the Saxon, because the Germanic tribes, for them, they would have said spells, right? So this would be in the kind of like in the form of a spell, in a way. But what's interesting is they're not sure who wrote the Heliand. Probably a monk, and probably a converted Saxon. And the gospel is God's spell. Okay, so the words are sacred magic. So this theme kind of rolls throughout the whole of the Heliand, of this idea of words being magic, being spells,
holding a power of their own and controlling the power of something else.
Which we know to be true. Anyway, that's what propaganda is.
More than that,
Right?
It's the Sapir-Whorf idea. And most people get a very facial lesson, not the Hebrew idea of face, meaning your deeper understanding. But they're taught Sapir-Whorf is that we use language to understand our world. But what we don't understand is it shapes us as much as it helps us understand our world. So we got to remember that, right? Like the words we choose and how we choose to engage with the meaning. And I see it so often. People want to flatten everything and don't understand that, especially when it comes to these words that we use, have multiple meanings depending on its contextual use. You know what I mean? And I think we're simple creatures. We want to flatten everything, but when it comes to this deep meaning and engagement stuff, that's when we have to engage. How would you say that? A more open-minded approach, which is rare nowadays. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Um, yeah.
well, that as example, they go into this like every word chosen in what you said, per evangelica dicta deliantur nostra delicta, uh, is chosen for a reason, right? And
Mhm.
then it's interpreted in different ways depending on who you read. My favorite is Hannah Arendt, super famous. She spent
Mhm.
her entire life writing about one word in the Greek, caritas, um,
Care?
love. Yeah, it's one of the number of words they use to translate the Hebrew chesed, that love with
Care.
forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah, care. Exactly. It's the covenant, the God's love for us. Exactly. Yeah. But again, we always look for a simple translation when really it's multiple, and we see
Well,
that. Yeah. Give her.
Heidegger
Go ahead.
talked about care as being really, really key, right?
Yep. Which is what I think we have a lack of. We understand a limited version of love, right?
Mhm. Yeah, well,
You
I
get what I
mean,
mean?
if you care for something, the first thing that comes to my mind is when my children were little, if they cared, I mean, really little, if they cared about something, they would hold it close to their hearts.
Oh, I love that. This is why. Okay, so I teach English and French and understanding philosophy and stuff. So one of my favorite, um, what would you call it? I can't think of it now. I started thinking in French. I recommend reading The Little Prince, because when The Little Prince was originally written in French by Saint Exupéry, his French was challenging even to many adults at the time, and this was around the Second World War. And so, fast forward to today, these concepts are not only timely as philosophy. That's what The Little Prince is. I don't know if you're familiar with the
I know
poem,
the
and
story, but it's been a long time.
it's
So,
about a little boy that comes from a far off planet that's so small that he can circumnavigate it in a just a short little walk. He comes to Earth and runs into this pilot who crashed in the desert. But what I'm getting at is it's my favorite part of the book, and it's missed in translation. And this is why you make me love that you were talking about the language and talking about the translation and the meaning. So
mhm,
what I mean by that is my favorite part of the book is when the little prince runs into a fox, and it's missed in translation. In French, um, it's what you said, care. So in
mhm,
French, it's what makes things special, because the little prince had one rose on his planet, so of course the rose was special to him. So he's talking about, like, if there's so many foxes on Earth, well, what makes any particular fox special? And the fox teaches him, well, when you care, when it becomes special to you. And
mhm,
that's so
mhm.
true. That's how we define what's valuable to us. But in English, it's lost because it says tame, when you tame something, and it's
Ah,
completely lost. And
it's
like you said,
totally
it's
lost.
care.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I recommend that for a very reason, that teaches people what Schopenhauer said. We learn another language, not so that you go around speaking another, no, because it separates words from ideas. So instead of you being fixed on, oh, well, it tame, no, you get this greater idea that, oh, that's not what was meant. It was meant something that becomes special to you. In German, schätzen or schätzensen. I'm a,
Shetson.
yeah. Um,
Shet
it's evaluate nowadays, but the old meaning was what we evaluate
treasure.
becomes,
You know what
yeah, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
shots, it comes from the word shots, and shots is a
Treasure.
treasure.
Yes. And so what
And
we treasure
yeah.
is what we value. And then it has a deeper meaning as to creation, related to
Well, wait,
gestalt.
I
You
gotta
get what I
say
mean?
I gotta
Yeah.
say something because
Yeah.
when you care or you treasure, you you empathically resonate with that thing, okay?
Yeah. It's in
So,
the German.
you become that thing.
Yes. I
You
love that.
enter into it, right?
Yeah. You
And
have to,
and
right?
and
To get to
therefore,
know it. No?
it enters into you.
Mhm.
And that's why
Love
Heidegger
that.
wanted, I mean, I don't know what his What would he use? I don't know what his German word was for care because he didn't use the word care.
No, he
You
would
know
be.
what it
I
was?
think. I think it's like his authenticity, like Dasein. Dasein is what. So like
Yeah, but
it's
it
an
wasn't his.
authentic
I don't think
interaction.
that was his word for
Let's
care.
find out. Yeah,
Yes,
let's find out.
please. What
I know
what
it. The memory is the
what's
craps.
Heidegger's German term for care? That's what you want to know.
Yeah, but I think the lesson is he said the only way to get any sorge. Sorge, is that, did I pronounce that
Sorgen.
correctly?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Sorgen, man. Sorgen is such a great word.
But as I said, Dasein is care as well, but it's
No,
deeper, right?
Dasein is not care. Dasein is being like it's being here actually. That the movie with Peter Sellers?
Yes.
That's it's titled Dasein, but in English.
Yes. You do understand that what he was talking about, like
I know.
the deeper meaning, like not just the whole, and that's what I think he was getting at. And was
Yeah, no,
Nietzsche,
I know.
which is where, see, this is why I understand Heidegger maybe better than most, is because I don't think he had very many original ideas of his own. Like it came
Most of his
from,
ideas were from Meister Eckhart.
yep, and others, right? Yeah.
Mm.
And so if you understand the source material, and most people don't. So I think it's the authentic interaction. Do you get what I mean? Like instead of pretending to,
Dasein?
yeah, yeah. I got it right here if you want like a more,
No. But I just wanted to talk about care for Heidegger.
yes, Giver, yes, Sorge.
Sorgen can be worries,
Hmm. Concern,
troubles, concerns, but
solitude as well.
to sorge for someone is to look after them if they're
Mhm.
in a sick bed, to look after your children, right?
Mhm.
And so sorgen is to care is to worry for another, right?
The value, yeah,
Like
love
it
that.
all, the other is wrapped up into the word, in my opinion. It's not necessarily explicit in modern German, but in my opinion, because Sorgen can cover all those things, that it's all kind of wrapped up together.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this gives you the idea of what I mean by but Dasein to Heidegger. Is I think this is what Jung meant by place. And Nishitani, I know you're familiar with Nishitani, the student of Heidegger's.
I've heard of him, but
He was a Zen Buddhist monk, come by way of his love of Nietzsche, and he used a term in Japanese called basho. That's much closer to this idea of Dasein, like being there. You get what I mean?
Mhm.
Place to Jung. So in Japanese, basho is come to mean place. If you were to talk to a Japanese, just like we were talking about earlier, right? Like Schätz, it'd be like, what did you say? Like treasure? What's the original German? Schätz?
Shots.
Schatz. Ah,
Yeah.
terrible. Pardon me. And I hope I'm not insulting you with my bad German.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. Anyways, in Japanese, if you actually look at the old characters, it's two. So there's one which shows, and if you go back to the ancient characters, which is my love, the characters of the I Ching and the Oracle Bone scripts, the really old characters showed a warrior prepared for battle. Right, he had his banners so he's ready for battle, and the place of battle. Right, so right place, right time. That's why
Mhm.
I think Nishitani used this idea of place, basho, and I think why it resonates with what I mean, uh, from this Dasein and like you said, Sorga, it's this idea of, do you get what I mean? Like it's
Well,
not just being there. Yeah,
here's
give
what
it.
I know. I know. Here's what I would how I
Mhm.
would put it in my very simple terms. It's about context, that you are not anyone without anywhere, right?
Mhm.
So you are within your context. And die Sorge ist das Sein des Daseins.
Mhm.
Okay. The care is the being of being there. That's what that translates to.
Yes, I would say. Would this make it more in English here?
Care is the being of being there.
Yes. So be concerned, involved, entangled, responsible. So to find, like, not just to evaluate
Yeah.
blindly, but to evaluate with the care and intention to relate authentically. Right? You get what I mean? To value it. going
Did you
forward.
happen to hear my essay today?
No, I'm sorry, I
That I
missed
read?
it. No, sorry.
Okay.
What was it about?
Oh,
I heard some of it. I was there for a little bit, but I couldn't hear it all. I was out sweating on the patio.
yeah, you have a heat wave, eh?
Yeah, this was like 46 degrees with centigrade. So whatever that is in Fahrenheit,
That's a
300
lot.
degrees. Yeah. But anyways, but yeah,
Well,
digress.
I just thought of it because to be concerned, involved, entangled, responsible.
Yes, ma'am.
And I said here, everything was big, very big, entangled and long, so very long. I was in this moment and then I wasn't. And then I read a poem that I wrote, reaching across the tops, barely touching in places, in other places entangled. Greening branches hide those who have given up, living and dying together, crisscrossing. New shoots wind up in spiral formation, seeking the light, following the sun. So, yeah. Yeah.
I was watching today, and my take was, I said it in the chat, is there's so much of what we're seeking is in the journey. I'm seeing so many people leaving home to come home again for the first time. And I know that's a cliche, but I'm seeing that, like, an appreciation for not like the cliche of the simple things, but right, the grass is greener sort of idea that who was it that said we learn best through loss? Do you get what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, who
Yeah.
was I heard today?
I don't know who said that, but
Yeah,
sounds right to me.
yeah. It was yeah. Give her, sorry, just
I'm gonna show
missed it.
you. I'm gonna look for a clip here. I've shown this clip before, and it didn't get my channel taken down. So
I
I
think
guess
you guys are small enough, hopefully,
no,
that
no,
they
no.
ignore you.
I had one taken down
Oh,
because
you're
of the
kidding.
clip. Yeah, but I just want to show you this one.
Yeah, I argue that's my own little addition to philosophy. I think Marshall McLuhan never predicted what we have. He wanted this Gutenberg galaxy, this global village, but I argue we're reversing the progress we made in the past. Right, we're no longer a timeless creature and a free of the constraints of geography, because everything's temporary now. Books, you know how many times I run across books that are no longer in print anymore, and now you got to track them down in a used copy on eBay. That's so sad. Well,
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna show you a clip.
please do.
It's about 8 minutes, but it's worth every second.
I got an attention span, if you haven't noticed.
All right. Let me see here. I'll turn it down a little bit. Tell me if it's loud enough.
It's loud.
Loud?
No, it's good. We'll wait until it starts up, but it's loud enough so far.
But what it does show me, perhaps, Richard, is that our life should be seen as fourfold, 4 stages of our development. And first stage of our life is a newborn baby. The newborn baby is for itself not a newborn baby at all. All its hours of attention are that way. And it's not out there looking at itself saying, well, what a nice little baby I am, or absolutely no hours of attention going back to be self-conscious. All its areas of attention are in that direction. So the newborn baby is really living from being, living from this immensity, living from the first person. We're all born here, first person. And Then we grow up a little bit and become toddlers and young children. And the faces around, we have many faces around us, our parents and brothers and sisters and so on, many faces around. And among the faces around us, when we are toddlers, young children, is a face in the mirror. And the face in the mirror is the face of a baby, of our friend. It's not one's own face. Never, never, never does a young child naturally look in the mirror and say, that's me. Absolutely not. Never, never, never. It's always my friend, that's baby, that's a playmate there. But parents have a job, which is to say, that's you in the mirror, Douglas. That's you, that's you, that's you. And of course, one doesn't want to be left out in the cold. And one would agree to any crazy proposition in order to be not thrown out of the club, really. So in order to belong to the human club, I would agree, yes, all right, that's me there. For you, that's you, that's me. I look in the mirror, you tell me that's Douglas. I agree, that's Douglas, that's me. For you, shall we say, something like that. It's not spelled out, something like that. But when I'm on my own and happy and playing and wandering along the beach, or, fancy free, I'm not like that at all. I'm still first person. I'm still immense and living from my space, just as I was when I was a newborn baby. So a marvelous time of my life is stage number 2, which is the child, the young child, who is for himself, still as wide as the world. Though for others, he's joined the human club and says, I am what I look like. Stage 2. And then dark night falls, and we enter the 3rd stage. Say, I am what I look like. I've lost my space, not become my face. Is it any wonder that the teenagers are angry, having been shrunk from being as wide as the world into being a little thing here? Is it any wonder they're angry and behave so badly and don't know why? It's no wonder at all. They've got shrunk from what they are into what they look like. They've lost their immensity. And that thing in the mirror has come and invaded them here, which is illegitimate and nonsense and untrue. And nearly all of us stay at that 3rd stage of our lives. Tragic, it won't do. And our business is to go on to the 4th stage, when we get this thing here that's come here and put it back where it belongs. And we come like child, just as Jesus says, unless you become as little children, you will never enter the kingdom. And little children see their faces out there in the mirror, if at all, and they are in the kingdom of heaven. So the 4th stage is to see the thing in the mirror, that's what I am for others. Here, that's what I am for me. And to recap these 4 stages, the first one is the newborn baby. That is first person, space for the world to happen in. Admittedly, the world of the first person here for the baby is chaotic and ill-organized. Second stage is a young child who is for others what he looks like, but for himself when fancy-free and not under criticism, not having to learn table manners, he is as wide as the world. So it's a wonderful time. A healthy child of 5 is a wonderful phenomenon. Joined the human club, refused to pay that fantastic, awful subscription. And what is the subscription for the 3rd stage? I am what I look like. That's hell. That is hell in the end. I am what I look like is hell. Hell. You can't live from that. What I look like is dying. What I am isn't. It's all about life and death. The fourth stage. Third stage is to condemn oneself to death, really, because what you look like is dying, and what you are isn't. What you look like is dying. Douglas is obviously dying. What's his shelf life? Look, he's dying. 92. Shelf life of months, probably.
Do
The
these
fourth stage. Sorry, just to recap. Finish the recap. The four stages. You've got what I look like, I've got what I am. And I'm going to live from that. That's where I operate from.
Can you go back that last sentence that he said, if you don't mind?
He said that's where I operate from.
Exactly. What did he say before that? When
You've got what I look like, I've got what I am. That's where I operate from.
so where did you get these? I got what I am. Nowhere in those four states. Is that what he said?
No.
We got a link for it.
Where was I here? Let me see.
Seems a little odd.
You didn't hear the last sentence?
Just I want to see what he said because it seemed like it didn't fit. It seemed like he was going through four stages, how we're all what we are told to be or what we think we are, but never did we actually go into Escher, A or Escher, I am that, right? We never talked about what I truly am, right? So that final sentence seemed a little weird, but yeah. What did it say?
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
did you see it? You didn't see it. Sorry, I forgot to share screen. Where am I?
I do that all the time, trying to figure this stuff out too.
Dang it. Oh, there we go. Okay. Did you hear it?
No,
Okay.
that's happened to me too, where I clicked the little button where it says share the audio, but it didn't play the audio.
Okay, here we go. Let's see here.
Or even the transcript, if you press the transcript. Oh,
Let's see.
Recap. Four stages. You've got what I look like, I've got what I am. And I'm going to live from that. That's where I operate from.
Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
You got it?
Yep. So what were you saying when you wanted to talk about this about first?
That's a good question. Why did I put that up there?
Well, it's what we were talking about. Just prior to that, we were talking about, like
We were talking about Dasein and Sorge
authenticity.
and how children hold things close to their heart and what empathic resonance is and becoming the other.
Yes,
And
there you go.
that is exactly why I showed the Douglas Harding clip.
And so I think he failed, right? To be honest, here's where it goes full circle, because this is where y'all in the little corner of the internet fall into this. So he said there's four stages, right? First person, chaotic, ill-organized. So we're a mess, but we're all about, that's what he said. It's literally what he said.
No.
Born baby.
He
First
said
person, chaotic, ill-organized.
being in first person is when all your arrows of attention are pointed outwards. I don't remember him saying chaotic.
He said chaotic and ill-organized. Yeah.
What? I don't remember him saying that. Okay, let's go to the transcript.
Sure. And then stage two, he said it's a young child living for themselves, right? For other people see, right?
No, you're misunderstanding it.
That's his words.
Well, those are some of his words. Those are definitely some of his words, yes.
Some of his words. What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, there's lots of other words in there too. Where's the transcript for this? How do you find it? On the desktop. Oh, maybe here? No. Here. Here we go. All right, transcript. We're going to get into that. And we'll share screen again.
Nice.
Share. I hope I don't get in trouble.
You
All
shouldn't
right.
because you're adding to it, right? You're
We're
not just
doing,
playing
we're
it.
doing a commentary here. Okay,
Yeah.
so the baby is all the arrows of attention are in that direction, meaning he's pointing outwards, right? Living from being, living from this immensity, living from the first person.
Go to when he recapped. When he recapped, he explained what I put in red. That's why I put it separately. So when I quoted the first person chaotic, so what I think you're missing is the recapping. When he talked about that, that's when he said, stage 1 is chaotic and ill-organized. Stage 2 is for what others see. So go down.
He's just saying what he said from the beginning here.
Yes, but he obviously, I guess, didn't say those words for you in the beginning. Or you can play it again if you want. Like you said, it's only 8 minutes long. You can even set it a little faster too. That's what I usually do.
The fourth stage is to see the thing in the mirror. That's what I am for others. Here is what I am for me. So being able to distinguish between the two. And to recap these 4 stages, 1 is the newborn baby. That is first person space for the world to happen in, admittedly, I don't think that's right. Or maybe, admittedly, the first person here for the baby is chaotic and ill-organized. Second stage is the young child who is for others and what he looks like, but for himself, when fancy-free and not under criticism, not having to learn table manners, he is as
wide as the world.
Wide as the world. So it's a wonderful time for that healthy child.
Because you think they can be anything. Yes, indeed.
He doesn't have to join the human club, pay the subscription. And then the third stage is I am what I look like.
Indeed.
Right, for the teenager. And the fourth stage is to condemn oneself to death, really. Wait. Dying, what is all about life and death. The third stage is to condemn oneself to death because what you look like is dying and what you are isn't. So, is there anything else that you wanted to know there?
No, I guess you didn't understand what I was getting at. He made a giant leap there, right?
He made a leap.
Where did he discover who he was? How does he know what he is versus what other people see him as, what his visions in the mirror? How does he know what he is? He never actually, who was that guy, by the way? Let me look him up here.
His name is Douglas Harding.
Douglas Harding.
Yeah. How does he know who he is?
Yeah, he makes a giant leap there where he goes, again, it's a newborn baby, not looking inward, as the Catholics would say, what is it? Notitia sui, not looking in oneself. Then stage 2, he's all about his look, but he also mentions early on, not when he was recapping, but early on, he was talking about this dark night. That was interesting. I wish he had gone a little further into that. The dark night into stage 3. Right?
Okay.
So
okay. Wait. Let me just show you something.
Yeah. So we go from performing into realizing. I would love for him to go deeper. What we realized in stage 3. Right? But then he mentioned, "I am what I look like," which is like a backslide, right? It's weird.
Well, that's the deception.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm not going to try to explain Douglas Harding to you because this is the book that he wrote.
Yeah, he's new to me. Exactly. Yeah. So he's all new to me.
And
okay. So he's a whole, you got to be well-versed on his stuff to understand him.
Yeah. And I mean, I've
come up while we're talking.
There's a small abridged version of this book that Nate and I went through on Grail Country.
I'm lost.
And
I apologize.
I found it super confusing. I couldn't figure out what the heck. And then I discovered that Richard Lang, who is a Buddhist, and I think this publishing company is actually Buddhist. What's it called? Because he got the Sholand, Schollond Trust, published his actual manuscript. Okay. And it is like, I don't know. I just want to give you an idea here. He's got circles and graphs and footnotes, and
so he's kind of like a scientist, but when it comes to philosophy and theology,
that's what his book looks like. It's just full of footnotes. He loves Thomas Traherne. He loves George Herbert. He loves Sufism.
Yeah, Sufism is cool.
He was an architect and a scientist and
polymath. He was into a bunch of things.
And he wrote this book for 10 years, and at the end of the 10 years, he lost his marriage, I believe.
Really?
And the coolest thing for me personally about him, is why I read Douglas Harding and why I love him so much, is because he was a Plymouth Brethren, which is a denomination of Christianity which was started by, let me think of his name, Darby, who was the father of dispensationalism. And that was the denomination that I was initiated into Christianity in.
You've mentioned that in your stories before. I noticed that. Now it all ties together.
And so for me, because he starts this, let me just see what his first sentence is here. Okay, it's not in this one.
So he talks about it somewhere in his work, how he comes to know himself. Right?
His first question,
practice.
The question that sent him on this journey was, "Who am I?"
That's what I was
reading.
And
the reason that he asked that question is because when he was 21 years of age, his family shunned him, which is something that the brethren do, because he expressed doubt about some of their theology. And he wrote a letter to the elders.
Verboten.
And so he was shunned, but he was literally like completely cut off from his own family. And
it's the worst.
And he was like disinherited. He was able to visit, I think he was able to visit his father at his deathbed, but he wasn't able to go to the funeral. They wouldn't let him.
Some of the stories I've heard about the Amish, yeah, it's tragic. Because actually, when we look at this, just to give, here you go. So you seem to be into German the way I am into Irish. There's this really cool video that I shared on my channel, on the YouTube channel, if anyone's interested. And it's about, it's talking about this thing. I use Ireland as an example. We confuse language and culture as two separate things. And so it's this awesome video. And the way it works is it's really kind of cool. I'm going to ruin the video for people, but it's still pretty cool. So there's this Chinese guy in China, and he's studying and he's living his life in China. You don't really know what's going on. But he ends up getting on a plane and gets off in Dublin. And so he's wandering around Dublin speaking Gaelic, but no one speaks Gaelic anymore. Until he goes to a bar and he starts speaking Gaelic to the bartender, and the bartender's like, "Dude, I don't understand you." And the guy sitting at the bar, this old guy sitting at the bar, is like, he's like, "Hey there, son, come and sit here." And right, he realizes he's speaking Gaeilge, and so he invites him to sit down beside him, and they start conversing in Gaeilge, in Irish. And what's funny is the bartender turns to the other guy and he's like, "I didn't know Paddy spoke Chinese," right? And it's happened here in Canada, like. I can't remember what we were actually talking about, but it's just, when people say about French in Canada, I say it's a little bizarre, because there's two ways of being in Canada. There's English and French. There is not many people who are bilingual, right? Because the example I give is I had to learn to speak English without an accent to pass, because people would judge me based on my English with an accent. And I had a young lad who came here to work, and he had to go back to Quebec because his English was fine, but he spoke with such a strong accent that he was treated quite poorly.
Mm.
And as a second example is I had a young man in Quebec told that, oh, it's great, you can go all over Canada because my potato chip bag will be in French. But what I said to him is, the problem is just about everywhere in Canada you go to, they're not going to be able to make change with you because they won't be able to speak French. And I argue it's because we don't value that there's a culture and a way of being and a way of thinking that comes with the language. And we end up flattening it by just trying to teach people the language and not what you were doing earlier, right? Share the meanings behind and the traditions behind why they choose words. I digress. I apologize. But I think this is why we need to get back to talking about language learning,
Well, language is everything, but it's also not. I wanted to I digress because I really want you to hear this quote from C.S. Lewis in here. Where is this? There's a really good quote from Lewis in here. Don't tell me I won't be able to find it.
All right, so I just ran through, while you're looking it up, I ran through what Douglas Harding, so that video, it really doesn't do him justice because
no,
the way he explains, and that's
know and love him.
Yeah,
then
8 minutes ain't enough time.
Okay, here's the question: what is man? This is the riddle which everyone, while accepting all the outside help he can get and use, must solve after his own fashion. So, anyways, I'm not going to find the C.S. Lewis quote, but I'll look for it another time.
I think it's along the lines that we were talking. Honestly, the thing I was going to connect it to the TLC is they were talking once in a chat, and they were talking about, are you happy? And they thought they were talking about why people struggle to answer the question, thinking that the hard part of the question is happy. But I argue we're hitting on the real problem. When you ask someone, are you happy? The real stumbling block is you. So like, what you are you asking, right? Like, which me is happy, right? Because most people can't really judge what me is, what you is. Get what I mean? I always harp on Martin Buber's I and Thou because I think this is so foundational. This idea that we go around treating ourselves as an I, we're special, we're unique, and we treat other people as an it. And Martin Buber, and people miss this. Martin Buber, I think, is inspired by, this is why Jesus said to honor God, right? The Shema, love God with all your soul, all your spirit, all your strength, and love yourself as you love your neighbor. I think that's the same thing as I and Thou. He was teaching what Martin Buber was trying to teach.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what most of the mystics teach.
Well, that's why I mentioned, and I apologize to Mark Parker today. I shared that I usually do whole chapter Bible study. I don't just do lines. And what happened is my wife got a devotional where they just shared Ephesians 32. And that bothers me because that's the last line of chapter 4 of Ephesians. And it misses the whole idea. And so I apologize because I said Ephesians 4. What I meant was to read the whole chapter. But Mark started reading the whole chapter. And I didn't mean that. I just meant, you can read the last section of Ephesians. It gives you this idea that we need to let go of our animosity or anger, not ignore it, right? But to not endorse it, right? And so my bugaboo is when they share like just a couple lines of a chapter and it doesn't explain. You get what I mean? Anyways. And that was the whole thing.
Because of Dasein, because there's always context.
Oh my! And you know what? That's what I didn't want to go into. That's actually what's a bit of a bugaboo about Ephesians 4. I actually asked my wife.
Wait. Let's not go into Ephesians 4. Let me. I found.
I'm sorry. Yes, you go ahead.
Because that's like we're sailing off into a whole other direction over there.
Oh, anything with me is. So thank you for stopping me.
this is a letter that C.S. Lewis wrote to Douglas Harding, because C.S. Lewis actually wrote the preface for his abridged version of this book. Okay, and and he only read the condensed. C.S. Lewis only read the condensed version. He never read this book. Okay, so this is what he says in the preface. This book is, I believe, the first attempt to reverse a movement of thought which has been going on since the beginning of philosophy. He then added, if this book should turn out to have been even the remote ancestor of some system which will give us again a credible universe inhabited by credible agents and observers, this will still have been a very important book indeed. And he went on to say, it has also given me that bracing and satisfying experience which in certain books of theory seems to be partially independent of our final agreement or disagreement. It is an experience most easily disengaged by remembering what has happened to us whenever we turn from the inferior exponents of a system, even a system we reject, to its great doctors. So he says more there, but I'm not going to read it all. And then they have an excerpt from an actual letter that Harding got from Lewis. Lewis replied in ecstatic tones once he had read his short version of the book. Hang it all, you've made me drunk, roaring drunk, as I haven't been on a book. I mean a book of doctrine. Imaginative works are another matter. Since I first read Bergson during World War I, who or what are you? How have I lived 40 years without my having heard of you before? My sensation is that you have written a book of the highest genius. That's a letter from C.S. Lewis to Douglas Harding.
And if you're interested, it's IFS, Internal Family Systems. That probably would be the most likely descendant of Harding's philosophy. It really is. It's really close. Same as that German word I mentioned, Gestalt, right? The idea that.
Why do you think internal family systems has?
Because it is.
Douglas
Absolutely.
I don't know anything about internal family systems.
It really is. It's almost, see, what it is I think it's therapists, doctors, they took all of this therapy, these really good, like the example I was writing down here is integral spirituality. You ever heard of that? There's a gentleman who wrote about this idea of integral spirituality. Or Charles Taylor. You ever heard of Charles Taylor?
I've heard the name, but I've never read his work.
Well, internal family systems is Schwartz, Richard Schwartz, I think his name is. But what he's, I think, done is he's taken what Jung started, was trying to make, religious psychology palatable to people, secularize religious psychology. Get what I mean? Like, so well, Jung.
Yeah, sorry, but what is, like, explain, do internal family systems for dummies for me.
It's literally what I was talking about earlier, Gestalt. So it's this argument that we're all parts, pieces. I think it goes all the way back to Nietzsche. Remember, Nietzsche talked about that we're little pieces, and all of the little pieces come together to make a greater whole. This is why I use this idea of Gestalt or Gestalten, like becoming. This idea of becoming, we're always becoming something new. So internal family systems is literally this idea of your buddy Douglas Harding. This idea of his idea is very much like Jung, this individuation. So you come to realize what you are by recognizing both your good and negative qualities, recognizing what is.
What Douglas Harding does is more micro macrocosm like, and he doesn't oh, I had a thought now and it just slipped my mind completely. There was something you said there. It's definitely a kind of individuation, but it's a kind of individuation that helps you to understand who you are by helping you to understand that you are everything and that you are actually everyone. So he's he's closer to Buber than he is to the very little I know about IFS. Douglas
Essentially,
Harding
IFS is ripping off Jung and Buber, to be honest. So yeah.
doesn't Douglas Harding doesn't shatter you into a million pieces. He makes you the whole cosmos. He's very much like Maximus the Confessor, actually, in a sense.
I find that dichotomy odd. Same as people who talk about deconstruction versus reconstruction. That's just semantics, right? Like smashing you apart or recognizing what pieces are yours. Because it's the same idea. It's a kenosis, or in yoga, the idea of burning away what isn't yourself or isn't your true self. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I kind
Yeah.
of think about it as shedding your skin like a snake does every time it gets bigger.
Yeah, or kenosis, emptying yourself of your ego-laden preferences, right? Right?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, that's a tall order, but yeah, you can only do that. In order to pour yourself out, you have to pour yourself into something else, and that's always into the other person, and that's love, right? Sacrifice love. That's what
Well,
that is.
honestly, let me see how he sees the self. Because if we're everything, then the self is a construct to Douglas. So he would say you don't have to
No,
pour
no,
out
no,
a construct,
no,
right?
no, no, no. You honestly, I couldn't even begin to explain it to you. And I'm being really honest. Like it was so
No,
hard for me to
he
understand
believes that it is a construct, right? The
what.
constructed self, a third person self, right? The first person self is what you have to
No,
realize what you're not.
he
Right?
thinks you're being parasitized by the image in the mirror.
Yes, that's very W.B. Du Bois. Exactly. Yes, because you're more than the image. Is that what he's getting at, right? It's not anti-ego per se, but
No.
see, there's a quote here. The trouble is not that we have a face, but that we forget we are also the space in which all faces appear.
Right.
Right? That's the gestalt I was getting at. This idea that you're not just the face, right? But you're also, like you said, words fail. Am I right? We're just wasting
Yeah,
our
they
time
do.
here.
They
Curls
do.
to swine, eh?
Yeah. Did you like that part of the Heliand?
Yep. I think it's well worth reading because honestly, it really is nice.
Isn't it beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
Let's find that pearls to the swine part.
Yeah, and your notes are more handy. The 66 edition has no notes at all, which I hate. I love having notes because,
So
like we
you're
said, language it holds so much more than what the paper could put down. Right?
right, and context.
Yep. Yes.
And
Horizontal
so
history. No?
there is a context to these people's lives, right? As okay, I got to remember. Hang on a minute.
It was 22 or 23. I think
Was
it was
it?
22. I think it was 22. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to remember where we left off, so for next time.
Yeah, you ended 23, so I think it was 22. Here's 22. He bade them do both. Not only should they say and spread his word, one should reach the realms of heaven, far spreading fiefdom. I think that's it.
That's yours.
Yeah. I know it's a little more poetic in its old
Yeah.
language, but it's nice.
Oh, I don't see the pig part.
With goods, nor pay for it with gold. Oh, it's keep carrying them. Need not buy it with goods, nor pay for it with gold. Therefore, be ye gracious unto men, mild in your hearts, ready to help, teaching the laid bairns, long-lasting counsel, enduring deeds. Deal ye right heavily still with their wrongs, with their swarthy sins. That's awesome. Let not silver nor gold be of such worth unto you, that ye would ever own them. Fair glimmering gold pieces, for they will give ye no joy. Be useless to you. Yeah, I mean, I love how they've put that. They've really made a lot of it. They stretched it out in a way that makes a lot of sense to people.
Right? Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Lay not up gifts in heaven. Is that not what they were stretching out there?
Well, I've got it in Song 20. Nor should you put your pearls before pigs, or strew your jewels, the holy metal around your neck before them. They will trample it into the muck and make it filthy in the dirt. They know nothing about cleanliness nor about beautiful jewels. There are many people like that here. They do not want to hear your holy word nor follow God's teaching. They know nothing about goodness and have a powerful preference for empty words, useless things, over the God of mankind's works and will. When I was reading that, I was just thinking, man, that, that's still true.
Yes, ma'am. It's even more so today.
That is still true.
Yes, ma'am. I see it every day, and I wish, and it's the same teaching. Because honestly, this is why I mentioned Ephesians 4, because it's the exact same teachings. This idea of don't waste your energies on right. What was it? There's a section where about being careful about choosing your moment to speak.
Oh, in Ephesians. Oh, you're back to Ephesians 4.
No, I'm just saying it's the same idea. It's like it's Dasein. It's Dasein, right?
Let's
this
hear it.
idea of
Let's
no,
hear
I'm
that.
not reading that. I'm trying to remember if I'm mixing up what we've been talking about here, because yeah, you're right. I was listening to more of that than I thought. I was reading along in Matthew when you were doing that.
Oh.
Right. But you're right. I think what we're missing, believe it or not, here's a funny little language mess up. So I was writing an essay that I called the crisis of, what did I originally call it? The crisis of, thinking. I think I just called it the crisis of thinking, or the thinking crisis. I'm so creative. But believe it or not, I punched in for AI to give me a thumbnail, and it accidentally entitled it in French. It called it Le Crise de Réflexion. And it made me realize that's a much better title, right? The Crisis of Reflection. And I think this is what Heidegger was talking about, and Nietzsche before him. And I think anybody you want to point to is deep engagement, devotion, commitment in your faith, in your path, in your religio. What do you think? Or am I on the wrong path here?
Well, what do you mean by reflection? I want to
reflection is okay. So I thought so. Think goes back to the old German. It's just the act of thinking. Réflexion is to reflect, to think back, to experience, to integrate the idea of individuation, of actualization, as opposed to having experience, having memorized the Bible passage versus living it, embodying it. Do you get the difference? That's, I think, what Heidegger was getting at between the Dasein and, you get what I mean? Like actualization.
Let me just say this back to you the way I think you're saying it, just to make sure I have it right. So for you, reflection is when you are
again, returning, yeah,
God into the world. Is that what you're getting at?
Well, it would be, because if you're reflecting your authentic self, what is your authentic self? Right? There is only one self.
Authentic, by the way, but
I know, but your true self, your most connected self, your divine self, right, is God. There is only one being in the universe.
I would just say your image and your likeness.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's use those words, because they're ambiguous enough not to be misunderstood.
and I'm not making this up, because that's Ephesians chapter 4. It's line 4. There is one body and one spirit, even as ye are called in one hope of your calling. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I mean is, right. The authentic self is closer to it's literally what St. John of the Cross was talking about. This obscure night of the soul is when you're no longer treading known territory, like either something you've done before, just patterns, or what someone else expects you to, like you're actually, I'm sorry to use the word, like your authentic self, or you know what I mean? Where you're treading something new, it would be uncertain, troubling.
Right.
And that's what he called the obscure night of the soul, is when you're actually connecting with your true self, with God, whatever you want to call it. You get what I mean?
Okay, well, you know what? On that note, I'm going to read the En una noche oscura.
Oh, I love it in Spanish too. I love it.
I'm not reading it in Spanish, though. I'm
Oh,
reading it
but
in-
I love that you do the title because I hate that people call it the Dark Night of the Soul because it's the obscure night of the soul. Like, get it right. I'm just kidding. Just ignore me.
Okay. And then after that, we'll end the stream.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm up in the middle of the night here too, so that's perfect. I got to get to bed. 4 a.m.
Okay.
comes early.
So this is translated by Roy Campbell, and it's a really beautiful translation. I love it. Upon a gloomy night, with all my cares to loving ardors flushed, O venture of delight, with nobody in sight, I went abroad when all the house was hushed. In safety, in disguise, in darkness, up the secret stair I crept. O happy enterprise! Concealed from other eyes when all my home at length in silence slept. Upon that lucky night, in secrecy, inscrutable sight, I went without discerning, and with no other light, except for that which in my heart was burning. It lit and led me through, more certain than the light of noonday clear, to where one waited near, whose presence well I knew, there where no other presence might appear. O night that was my guide, O darkness dearer than the morning's pride, O night that joined the lover to the beloved bride, transfiguring them each into the other. Within my flowering breast, which only for himself entire I save, he sank into his rest, and all my gifts I gave, lulled by the airs with which the cedars wave. Over the ramparts fanned, while the fresh wind was fluttering his tresses, with his serenest hand my neck he wounded, and suspended every sense in its caresses. Lost to myself, I stayed, my face upon my lover having laid, from all endeavor ceasing, and all my cares releasing, through them amongst the lilies there to fade.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
The empty house is our fake shell of a self, by the way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Right? Such a beautiful call. Now, I love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful way to wrap it up, too.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Al, for joining me. That was your first appearance here on the Heliand.
I love getting into this stuff deeply, and it's so rare.
Mm-hmm. I do too. That's why I like to savor my way through things, just slowly and carefully, and take my time and let it sink in. And so that's great. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming.
It was a pleasure, and I hope you have a wonderful week.
You too. You too, and I'm
time.
sure we'll see you around.
Cheers.
All right. Thank you,
Cheers,
everyone,
everybody.
for joining us, and have a good night.
Ciao.